Down to Business. Joining us here, the co-founder of Forge People, a leadership performance company dedicated to building high-performance leaders from the inside out. I'm joined by Candido and April Martini, bringing over 45 years in combined experience navigating the high-pressure world of middle management and executive coaching. They're the authors of the new playbook, The Power of Your Personal Brand, a playbook for struggling middle managers who want to do big things. They believe that a leader's personal brand is their greatest competitive edge, serving as the ultimate filter for making decisions, shaping presence, and accelerating growth for an entire organization. Welcome to the show, Anna and April.
Thanks for having us.
Yay, excited to have you. You've spent 45 years in the struggling middle. Why do so many middle managers feel like they have to manufacture a corporate persona instead of uncovering their actual personal brand?
Because most of the time, that's what their bosses and their mentors and their coaches tell them to do. So this book is all about uncovering what's really within you and using that as your competitive advantage.
Fascinating. And that's so important. We're going to talk more about that over the next few minutes. You talk about a leader's big thing in the book. For a founder who's currently drowning in daily operations, yes, I know so many of you are nodding your heads vigorously on the other side of these airwaves. How does identifying the one big thing change the way they filter their daily decisions?
Well, we believe that when you can focus and you really figure out what your personal brand is, how best to manage it throughout the day-to-day, and identify a single big thing, you become really clear and a lot more objective about what you're chasing and why, because it's linked to who you are at your core in addition to the business that you're in. And it allows a lot of those other distractions to fall away so that you can get to the next milestone or set of goals or whatever it is you're looking to do professionally.
April, you look at team dynamics. How does a leader's unresolved personal brand create friction or hidden leaks in the trust of a high-performing team?
Yeah, so we say that if a leader does not know what their personal brand is, how in the world is the team around them supposed to know what it is and then how to react to them? And we're also known for saying that if you don't define your personal brand, others will do it for you. And so in a team dynamic, the leader is responsible for setting up expectations as well as how communication will happen within that team. But it has to be authentic and consistent and grounded in their personal brand so that their teams can really learn to trust them and know what to expect from them.
And you connect brand to strategic execution. How does a leader's clarity about who they are actually help them turn a complex business strategy into immediate action?
Yeah, this is mostly identified by the leadership style, right? And the leadership style is what really sets the tone for the team and also sets the tone for the business. So when you're going to a strategic action planning session, it's really important that the leader knows who they are and who they want to be for their team, so they can set the right expectations for what the strategic action planning is going to be and how it's going to set the business up for success.
Very often on Get Down to Business, we talk about the mirror effect on the show. Why is copying the behaviors of other successful leaders, even the ones we admire, and trust me, I love reading business books, why is it often counterproductive to building our own credibility?
Oh, you hit a hot button for me here. I'm going to have to try real hard to be succinct. But the reason is that, and what we would call that actually is a persona, not your personal brand. And so a lot of well-meaning coaches and mentors and leaders, and even us as individuals, look to other people and think that if we emulate who they are and how they lead and how they show up, then we can be more like them and therefore get to the things that we're striving for. But what we find is when you try to imitate or you try to jump the identification process of your personal brand and just create a persona, you show up contrary to what I said around leadership. You're inauthentic, you're a moving target, people don't know what to expect from you because you're trying on other people's personal brands instead of doing the work on your own.
And how can a leader practically harness the individual personal brands of their team members to drive better business results?
Well, it's really about understanding who everybody is at their core, first and foremost. So we say personal brands divided into three different parts, which is your characteristics, which is, like I said, who you are at your core, your values, the way that you think, your experiences, and all those sorts of things. And then it's your appearance, and that's really how you visually and verbally show up, your presence. And then how that manifests through your behaviors and actions. And that's the part that you can really control. And that's your reputation at work. So when you can really pay attention to all three of those things, you can see it from the context of the individual and the way the individual plays within the team can be optimized. The team becomes more efficient. The team becomes more productive. So that's how you take personal brand and you really instill it into every aspect of your business.
And what would you say are the subtle cues that a leader is acting from a manufactured persona, like you guys were saying before, rather than an authentic brand?
Well, I think as human beings, we just naturally do have the ability to suss it out. And it's that moving target that I was talking about before. So if I give kind of a silly example, right? If I show up one day and I'm super subdued, and I show up the next day and I'm animated and all over the place and talking really loud and using my hands, and I show up the next day and I seem to have decided for that day that we're going to talk really quietly and calmly, right? Nobody knows. And those are silly examples, right? That's your appearance at work there. But when that happens, people come into the experience with you and automatically feel like they're unsure. So they're nervous and they just fundamentally do not trust you and how you're showing up.
Very, very interesting. Once again, I'm continuing my conversation with the co-founders of Forthright People, a leadership performance company dedicated to building high-performance leaders from the inside out, chatting with Candido and April Martini. They are the authors of the new playbook, The Power of Your Personal Brand, a playbook for struggling middle managers who want to do big things. So again, as I mentioned, you've spent over 45 years combined navigating the corporate world before launching Forthright People. Looking back at your own careers, what was the specific big thing you were pursuing that finally gave you the clarity to stop manufacturing a persona and start building your own authentic brand? I'll turn to Ann first.
Oh my gosh, there's so many examples. And I think the big point here is there's multiple big things. For me, it was the moment where I thought I wanted to be a manager in a certain function. And I looked at my boss and I'm like, I don't want that job. I absolutely don't want that job. It was the thing I was singularly focused on. And so I had to really look at my personal brand and say, hey, what is it about my personal brand that led me to wanting that position and now that I don't want that position? And how do I want to show up in order to navigate my career in a different direction?
How about you, April?
So for me, it was when I realized that I could no longer single-handedly do the job I was doing without the support of others. So early on, I was noted, and it's definitely fundamental to who I am, that I am a hard charger. And I had been burned a few times. And so I was on this mission to do all the work with excellence by myself, which is great until you want to elevate in your role, you want to lead people, you want to build teams. And that's what that middle manager struggle, right? And so I really had to get very real with myself and some tough feedback that I received to learn that I had to collaborate and build that trust that we've been talking about throughout with team members in order to have people so we could do more together than I could do by myself.
Awesome. Really, really appreciate all of the practical advice here. And I want to end with one additional practical homework assignment for our listeners. If a listener feels like they've lost their visibility or their impact in their organization, what's the first step they should take this week to start activating their personal brand to build back that credibility?
Yeah, it's about being curious and asking yourself why. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do because it requires us to be very vulnerable and to really address some things that we probably have already known and know in the back of our minds and our hearts and our souls that it's going on, but we just don't want to admit it to ourselves. So it's really about being curious and asking ourselves, like, why did that go well today? Or why did that not go well today? Or why do I think I'm getting that reaction from people? Or why am I unable to move ahead and move my agenda forward? So just being curious is really the first step and becoming more aware of how people are interacting with you.
Absolutely. And April, really enjoyed the conversation. I want to give the final word back over to you to make sure our listeners can find the book and get in touch with you. How can they do so?
So the book's available on Amazon, so you're going to want to find it there. And you can also get to it through our website, forthright-people.com. It allows you to find all kinds of different tools that will help you on your journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Really enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to staying in touch and continuing to learn from and with you. We are going to squeeze in some headlines, a quick break, some commercials. When we come back, we've got a lot more small business jobs and entrepreneurship. Don't touch that dial. As always, get on your favorite podcast app, search for Get Down to Business, subscribe, rate, review, and share so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be right back.